Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Yeah. Oh, the love of God. When I was your foe, still your love fought for me. You have been so, so good to me. You have been so, so good to me. When I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. You have been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Yeah. The reckless love of God. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless Let the righteous proclaim.
Let the righteous proclaim.
Jesus is here.
Jesus is here.
So we welcome you now. By your Spirit within, we come to enter in, to glorify and bless your worthy name. We enter in. Glory to your name. Cry out loud. Worthy is your name. Lift our voice. These belong to you, eternity. Let the righteous proclaim.
Let the righteous proclaim.
Oh, that Jesus is here.
Jesus is here.
So we welcome you now.
So we welcome you now. Draw us near.
We behold now your face. Oh, in wonder and awe. Who is like you, oh Lord?
Who is like you?
Oh, so holy and true. Oh, by your Spirit within, we come to enter in, to glorify and bless your worthy name. We enter in. Oh, glory to your name. Cry out loud. Oh, worthy is your name. Lift our voice. Praise and majesty. For these belong to you, O Lord. You are eternity. While we enter in. Glory to your name. We cry out loud. Oh, worthy is your name. We lift our voice. Praise and majesty. For these belong to you, O Lord. You are eternity. For these belong to you, O Lord, throughout eternity.
Rulers persecute me without cause, but my heart trembles at your word. I rejoice in your promise like one who finds great spoil. I hate and detest falsehood, but I love your law. 7 times a day I praise you for your righteous laws. Great peace have those who love your law, and nothing can make them stumble. I wait for your salvation, Lord, and I follow your commands. I obey your statutes, for I love them greatly. I obey your precepts and your statutes, for all my ways are known to you. Psalm 119, 161 through 168. It's where we're going to be tonight, right after this time in worship.
My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest frame, but wholly trust in Jesus' name. My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest frame, but wholly trust in Jesus' name. Christ alone, cornerstone, weak made strong in the Savior's love through the storm. He is Lord, Lord of all. When darkness seems to hide his face, I rest on his unchanging grace. In every high and stormy gale, my anchor holds within the veil. Christ alone, cornerstone, weak made strong in the Savior's love through the storm. He is Lord, Lord of all. When he shall come with trumpet sound, oh, may I then in him be found, dressed in his righteousness alone, faultless stand before the throne.
Wide awake while the world is sound asleep, too afraid of what might show up while you're dreaming. Nobody, nobody, nobody sees you. Nobody, nobody would believe you. Every day you try to pick up all the pieces, all the memories, they somehow never leave you. Nobody, nobody, nobody sees you. Nobody, nobody would believe you. God only knows what you've been through, and God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you, and there's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows what you've been through, and God only knows what they say about you, and God only knows the real you, and there's a kind of love that God only knows. There's a kind of love that, there's a kind of love. You keep it cover over every single secret, so afraid if someone saw him they would think that somebody, somebody, somebody sees you. Somebody, somebody will never leave you. God only knows what you've been through, and God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you, and there's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows what you've been through, and God only knows what they say about you, and God only knows the real you, and there's a kind of love that God only knows. There's a kind of love that, there's a kind of love. There's a kind of love that, there's a kind of love. For the lonely, for the ashamed, the misunderstood and the ones to blame. What if we could start over? We could start over. We we could start over. Oh, for the lonely and for the ashamed, the misunderstood and the ones to blame. What if we could start over? We could start over. We could start over. 'Cause there's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows what you've been through. And God only knows what they say about you. God only knows the real you. And there's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows what you've been through. And God only knows what they say about you. And God only knows the real you. And there's a kind of love that God only knows. There's a kind of love that, there's a kind of love God only knows. There's a kind of love that, there's a kind of love. God only knows where to find you. God only knows how to break through. God only knows the real you. And there's a kind of love that God only knows.
Here in these last few, coming upon these last few verses of Psalm 119, we see again this expression of this deep devotion to the law of God. You might say the psalmist loves and obeys the law of the Lord and the law of Yahweh, all these things. He feels safe because of his all. Think back to, when he says, there are those who persecute me without cause. Think back to verse 23. Seems a long time ago, right? Here in Psalm 119. But he says, though rulers sit together and slander me, your servant will meditate on your decrees. It's this idea, this thinking, it's not just anybody who tries to persecute me or tries to slander me or to harm me. It's kind of rulers, it's princes, it's those in high position. It's those that sometimes I struggle to have a defense against, right? And so he says they persecute me without cause, but he still feels safe in his in the presence of God because of Yahweh's because of his law, because of what he does for his people. And so he says, I rejoice in your promise, like one who finds great spoil. It's in other words, it says it's like someone who finds this treasure. That you find this treasure, you have this loot, all these things, that you discover this great treasure. And so that's what he says, my heart can rejoice in this. I can feel safe because of what I have found in you, because of what I have found that's not just your word, but because of past experiences, because time and time again, because what you have done, what you have provided, what you have given has led me to this understanding, led me to this belief that this treasure that I have in you, this reward that I have in you, leads me to understand and to know what it means to experience your presence and experience your, as he says here, experience your peace, as he says here later in verse 165, that I can experience this peace because of your presence, even in the midst of persecution, even in the midst of oppression, even in the midst of experiencing these things without cause. Like, what did I do to deserve this? You ever made that statement before? I didn't do anything. I didn't cause anybody else harm, and yet they're acting this way towards me. They're responding this way towards me. They're saying these things. They're doing these things, and you didn't do anything to them. And yet you can still have that peace. You can still have that calmness about you because of what is happening, because of the assurance that comes in that relationship with Him. And so. So again, he says, I love your law. I detest, I abhor, I hate this falsehood. But, all these things. But even with that same, almost kind of that same mantra of this, just, I can't stand falsehood. There's even just that, with those same feelings of emotion and the same disdain for that, it's then just the opposite of that, but almost with the same and maybe even more emotion, with even more expression. I love your law. That love and just that because that peace and that treasure that comes from that. And so, verse 164, he says, 7 times a day I praise you for your righteous laws. The many times, literally the many times I spend in appreciation of it. Verse 165, mentioned it just a second ago. Great peace have those who love your law, and nothing can make them stumble. That just that idea of that wholeness, that completion. That even when there's conflict around me, I can practice the positivity, the quality of the security and prosperity that comes in a relationship with you, that comes from knowing you. And so he says, really in the first half of verse 166, I'm trusting in you to save me. I obey, verse 167. I obey, verse 168. You know all my ways. You know everything about me. One day, a well-known minister was in India preaching, and this young Indian boy was outside listening, was not allowed to go inside, and was outside listening. And later that night, as the minister and his wife, they went down for the night and they're resting in bed. There's this knock on the door. He goes to open it, and there's this young Indian boy that's there. And he says, "Sir, I heard I watched your message tonight." And the preacher could look and see his clothes just, you could tell that he was a nobody. He was considered a nobody by those within the city where he lived. And this young Indian boy said, "Sir, I heard what you said, but I have to know." In this very polite, broken English, he says, "Is there help for a nobody like me? Is there help for somebody like me?" And then I'm reminded of the story in Luke chapter 17, the parable of the great banquet. And you see, to all the nobodies, God says, "Come. Receive your invitation. The time is ready. The banquet is for you." For the anybodies, for the somebodies, for the nobodies. I am trusting you to save me. You can say those words to God. I am trusting you to save me. Even when He knows everything about us. You can trust in His faithfulness. You can hold to His promises. You can spend time many times a day being reminded of who He is. Even when, without cause, you're experiencing persecution. You're experiencing oppression. You're experiencing conflict. Have peace. Have that peace that surpasses all understanding that comes from knowing God, from knowing His Son, and being filled with His Spirit. Tomorrow night we wrap up Psalm 1 19. And then also tomorrow night, I want to introduce you to a new series of thoughts that we're going to begin, and that will be Saturday night that we'll get started with. And well, I'll just go ahead and tell you now, we're going to start with a theme of mission and outreach. And Saturday night, we're going to talk about a world in chaos. But again, tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, all the usual places, we're going to look at Psalm 119, verses 169 through 176. We will wrap up the chapter, Psalm 119, the longest chapter in the Bible. I hope that you can join us then. Have a great night. God bless.
The song in my soul, the song I was born to sing. It's your song of freedom. Now I'm free to dance again. I'll sing in the darkness, I'll laugh in the rain, rejoice in your love again. It's your song of freedom. Now I'm free to dance again. Your spirit brings me liberty. Your breath of life has set me free. The song in my heart, the song in my soul, the song I was born to sing. It's your song of freedom. Now I'm free to dance again. I'll sing in the darkness, I'll laugh in the rain, rejoice in your love again. It's your song of freedom. Now I'm free to dance again. Your spirit brings me liberty. Your breath of life has set me free. Jesus, your love lifts me high, gives me reason to run this race with joy. This song within me, Lord, will bless your holy name. Jesus, I'll dance before your throne, bring this heavenly sound to you alone. This song within me, Lord, will bless your holy name. The song in my heart, the song in my soul, the song I was born to sing. It's your song of freedom. Now I'm free to dance again. I'll sing in the darkness, I'll laugh in the rain, rejoice in your love again. It's your song of freedom. Now I'm free to dance again. Your spirit brings me liberty. Your breath of life has set me free. Jesus, your love lifts me high, gives me reason to run this race with joy. This song within me, Lord, will bless your holy name. Jesus, I'll dance before your throne, bring this heavenly sound to you alone. This song within me, Lord, will bless your holy name. Bless your holy name. Will bless your holy name.